Yeah, here he is.
Here he is.
Bailey, you don't get to join us at the big people table?
What did I do?
I've offered to everyone.
I know.
You can sit here if you want to.
There's room there.
Good luck with that.
Everybody.
Why is it?
Well,
Look at
Jane won't
everybody.
be here if
Like-
we want to rearrange, like
Yeah, no
Paul
Jane.
and
Yeah, we
Bruce
can
could slide this way.
scoot
Neely, come
over.
up here and sit by
There's plenty
Nick.
of room.
Neely, bring your name tag and come up here, and Paul and Bruce
Yeah.
can slide this way.
I'm
'Cause
not
Jane,
leaving this cookie in my
leave
spot.
my name here. Well, but I'm not.
Little scheme to get the cookie. Jane's not here.
Oh, okay, all right.
It was just set up like this when I got
Okay.
here, so.
Is Jane here today?
No,
No.
Oh,
sorry,
okay.
Jane's
Oh,
not
okay.
coming. That's
Oh,
why.
I didn't realize that.
My bad, I wasn't.
No,
very
you're
clear.
fine.
Were you on the field? Sent a email
Oh, yeah.
saying he would.
Yes, I saw Field, yes.
He must, I don't know, he's busy.
Okay, we are off to a rip roaring start here. If you're online, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order one more time. All right, let's start with the roll.
Bush,
Here.
Greenlee,
Here.
Here.
Hill,
Here.
Kyers.
Here.
Longstreet is absent today. McCaffrey,
Here.
Reichard is absent today. Rice,
Here.
Sachs.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, great. Thank you, Ginny. Let's see, additions or deletions to the agenda. We don't really have any, but I just wanted to call out in case any of you are tracking. We usually have a quarterly financial report that comes to the Parks Commission, but we were talking at executive committee, we really need a 2-month delay to kind of pull that together. So, and it really needs to go to the Finance and Policy Committee first. So what we're gonna do is have the first quarter report in May instead of this month. So there'll be just a little bit of a lag time there. So, all right, that's all I had there. And we will go on to approval of the minutes of the previous meeting for March. So if anyone would like to make that motion to accept the minutes.
So moved.
Okay, thanks, Lucas. Do we have a second?
A second.
All right, thanks, Bruce. All right, any comments, questions, additions, edits? All right, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. All right, minutes are approved. Communications, we do not have any this month, and that leads us to our first public comment period. I think does anyone in the audience care to make public comment today? Yeah. Okay, you'll be on deck when we come to a little later in the agenda, so thank you for joining us. If there's anyone online who would like to make public comment, please feel free to email the Parks Commission at any time during the month, and we will go ahead and receive those comments. The email address is in the comments of the YouTube stream, so we'll go ahead and keep rolling with staff reports, and first up is the director's report. Jason?
Right. So one thing I'll just note, you'll some of you might have seen, we added another page in behind the agenda that covers the new mission, vision, and strategic initiatives. And then we're still tweaking the how we'll update the staff reports, but you'll notice on mine, I have then included at the end of the various topics or projects, the strategic initiative. So a milestone with the Grand Haven Dunes MOU. So the city of Grand Haven has approved that. I think it's going on for Ferrisburg to formally approve it at their next meeting. And then we'll since that agreement involves other political jurisdictions, we'll send it on to the Board of Commissioners as a formality. But yeah, and then we have the self-service kayak rental RFP out, so we're on schedule, and we plan on having a recommendation for a vendor at the next Parks Commission meeting, with the intent that provides an adequate time for them to install equipment for July 4th. So happy to answer any questions. I should have included, I also was on spring break in Florida for a week, so should have included some pictures of that.
Just to rub it in, right?
Yeah,
There
yeah,
is this thing down there called sun.
yes.
Yeah.
We might have had a day of it. I don't know. Any questions for Jason? All right, we'll keep rolling with the park operations report. Jason Berger?
All right. I too was on spring break in Florida for a week and saw that thing we call the sun. It was very nice to actually see that for a while. Now this month we, as always this time of year, do a lot of concentration on getting our seasonal staff list done, getting people hired. Have had actually pretty good luck this year, getting most of the positions filled. We do have 2 key positions that we're having trouble with. So if anybody knows some people, we are looking for a semi-skilled maintenance person at the POC, so in West Olive. And we are looking for an additional person to mow at Hager. So that's somebody that can, drive a truck and pull a trailer, which is beyond the typical, 16-year-olds that we hire for some other stuff. So those are the 2 most critical positions that we still have yet to fill. But there are a few others, but we have applicants for all the others. Those are the ones we just don't have anybody in the applicant pool for right now. We also had a unique situation out at Riverside this month or last month. We had the water go up during those high rains when I was gone on spring break, and our courtesy docks at Riverside took a tumble and went underwater, and we caught one of them and pulled it up on shore, but the other one disappeared. And so we did get out there in the boat with some fish finders and down scan, and we located it, but it's too deep for anybody or any equipment we have or most contractors around here to get it up. So I've got a construction excavator company coming at the end of the week to yank that one out of the water. So that's been a big challenge. Maybe next year we won't cave to pressure by the fishermen to get those docks in quite so early. In addition to that, we also finalized our mowing contract for this coming season this past month, and that came in really great. Actually, the contractor who got it has mowed for us for 3 years before, not most recently, but a couple years ago, and the price he bid for us at like 14,880, I believe, was the same price he bid in 2021. So, yeah, good price for the mowing this year. So that'll move forward as well. So, if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
So could you, just before any questions, Jason, could you share a little bit on, you noted the 49 down trees were removed from 12 different properties. Can you just explain kind of our process and?
Sure. Yeah, we as trees fall in the parks, we clean them up only if they are over a trail or in a mowed area or someplace where it's an impediment to visitors. When we do clean them up, we typically leave the wood lay where it is to provide additional habitat. We do try to hide the cut ends as much as possible so it doesn't look like a cut down tree, but we do try to leave it on site. We average over the years, we average about a tree a day. So we average 350 to 400 trees a year that we have to cut up that fall over trails or in mowed areas around the parks.
And any staff training or certifications that helps with?
We do have several of our staff that have the steel chainsaw certification, the in-person one, and then all of our staff that do chainsaw work have the online steel certification. And then we do have a few seasonals that work with our full-time that don't chainsaw by themselves, that we do training in-house where we just our trained staff trains them. But those people don't do chainsawing by themselves. They just do it with other people.
You have a couple certified arborists?
Oh, yes, and pulling for yes. Eric is Eric Freefeld is a certified arborist. You said a couple. Who else do we have?
Papa's also.
Oh, no, Eric is a certified arborist. Bob is a certified tree risk assessor. So yeah, two different, the certified tree risk assessor is just a 1-day course. The certified arborist is a test and a pretty significant certification with CEUs and updates and all that. So Eric's certification is pretty significant that he has.
So do mostly people call you and say, hey, I can't get through this trail? I know I sent you a message one day when we were out with Park Stewards, but
We get a lot of those calls, and those calls are incredibly helpful because, you know, our supervisors are not on every trail every day.
Sure.
So to know when those trees fall, we really rely on the visitors and our park monitors, the volunteers that report back. But for the most part, it's park visitor reports that we get, that especially when it's, you know, a tree down in the far reaches of North Ottawa Dunes, you know, they, on some of those distant trails, aside from doing tree work and maintenance, the supervisor may make it onto that trail only 2 or 3 times a year, not every single day.
Right.
So what,
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
mean,
Liz.
the trees, was it the logging that was going on at Pigeon Creek, I think it was? That was a year ago, maybe, that process went through and those trees were all removed,
Yeah,
correct?
that was a logging process where we took the marketable trees, the marketable pine trees at Pigeon, and it was logged, and those were sold actually as pulpwood. And the purpose of that is those trees were planted originally as a crop, and it was meant to be harvested at a certain time. We did manage those, I think, 3 different times over the years, where we thinned out the larger ones and sold them off so that we wouldn't end up with a lot of dead and dangerous trees standing in the parks. But it got to the point with root rot and a couple other diseases and other issues that there was no more management we could do. The remainder of the trees just needed to be harvested. And so that's what we did. There are still obviously some pines out there that are still standing. Those were the ones that were at the time not marketable. They weren't big enough for them to take, or they were in an area where it would be difficult for them to get to, or things like that. So there will still continue to be some pines out there. But what's really cool about Pigeon is that because of the thinning that was done over the years, it allowed some deciduous species to take hold between. And the contractor we had that did the logging this time was very careful not to trample and run over those deciduous trees. So that forest will become a deciduous forest a lot quicker than it would be if we'd had a more careless contractor out there that just ran over everything to get to the pines he wanted.
Mhm.
hey, Neely, are you happy with how that's gone over there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyone else? All right, we'll keep going with the planning and development report. Kurt?
All right, so since we're rubbing in vacations, I took a 2-week one this year. Not Florida, but it was plenty nice. So anyway, that's why I missed last month's meeting. But you have my report. I'm happy to answer questions on it. I maybe just highlight a couple things because things are starting to get active like they do in the spring for work being done. So Grosse Park, we have a small project there at the beach area. It's been a constant real problem about erosion, but this should at least stabilize all of our structures there, so we won't have to worry about walkways and stuff falling in. That started this week. And very soon we will start on the Middle Macatawa project. That's the improvements at Hawthorne Pond and a trail connecting Hawthorne Pond all the way to Upper Mac. It's in cooperation, if you remember, with Holland Township and the Outdoor Discovery Center. So that's going to start here in a couple weeks. So that will be fun, a good one to complete. And then in terms of planning, we did hire a consultant to help with the feasibility study for the barn at Eastmanville Bayou. I don't know if we talked about that last time, but anyway, we interviewed them, and actually their proposal was really nice. They had it in 2 pieces, so we're kind of doing a real feasibility study initially just to see if they think we can do the kinds of things we want to do, and then if we want them to take it further, make some pretty pictures for us which might be needed as we try to promote this project. We can add that on later. So We haven't met yet, but that should happen very soon, and that would be great. Other than that, happy to answer any questions on projects.
I actually have a question that I don't really want to ask, but I feel compelled. I'm sorry. So we're working on the beach at Gross Park.
Yep.
Do you have to deal with the HOA there when you do that, or not really? That's over on our side and we don't have to.
No, we don't really have to deal with.
Okay.
Yeah, anybody. It's totally on our property. I mean, it's kind of a permitting hassle. Anytime you work there. In fact, it's kind of interesting. One of the problems we have there is the sand keeps migrating on the shoreline there like it naturally does. And this beach is on the far northeast corner. So you get these winds coming across the lake and they push this. So we've been wanting to build a structure there of some type that could, prevent or at least slow down the sand migration. So they won't let us do anything hard. So we're actually putting a large tree trunk that sticks out in the water, and that hopefully will slow down this sand, because that's actually considered a habitat structure, which we do lots of other places. So it's true, but we've never done it this way to see if that will alleviate some of our issues. So
I have a quick question. As far as Eastmanville, the farm barn that's there, I know in Crockery Township, I think there are 2 barn facilities that are generally close by. So I don't know is the consultant going to kind of look and do a comparable to what's out there in the region? And
I mean, we didn't ask them to do that kind of the business planning of it. We'll probably do that ourselves. And we have done work like that. We've gone to other barns, other places. So this is more just the physical structure. What can you do with it? Yeah.
Thank you.
But thankfully, we found this out. Even our consultant had come in with some research, and Polkton Township there actually has in their ordinance things that allow this kind of thing, because it's come up before and they've got a couple of them. So that should help, because that's always one of the issues. A barn doesn't really meet some kinds of codes normally for some kind of, certainly a commercial or even a residential building, right? You're not insulating it. You're not doing lots of things that you would do in a regular building. So
And those would be, so the 2 I'm aware of are private operations, right? So this would be a multi-use.
yeah, so sure. I
facility
mean, we've
that-
always thought it would be good for big publicly rentable, but it's also given some of our ideas about, our public, our uses for it, right? With community engagement and even, having other events out there that are agriculture related or natural resource management related. We want to make sure it works for us as well.
Cool.
So it's really, the first step is really to do an assessment of the structure and determine, right, if we can utilize it as a public structure. And that could include some classroom space, office space in the lower level, and then making it accessible to the public and using it for public purposes as well, potentially. So
Sounds good.
Parks headquarters, right in the base.
That's what I was thinking.
So if you didn't know this, right, this is the idea, this upper, if you've been there, right, the upper, the cathedral-like barn space, yeah, okay, that's public space. And what do you need for a public space? Well, you need restrooms, you need accessibility, you need electricity, you need all these kinds of
Fire egress.
fire, right, those kind of
egress and
issues are
egress,
what you're
yeah.
dealing with when you're saying, yeah, we want to be able to fit 250 people.
Also the weight load.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So all those kind of things. So, and actually we were impressed with this consultant too. They actually contacted the gentleman who did the barn repairs for us several years ago. He's not an engineer or an architect, but he just knows how to fix barns, and he did a lot of the work for us to stabilize it. They actually have him on their team. So we felt really good about that.
Wow.
So that's the big space. And yeah, then you've got this big space underneath there, right? And we've seen other places they use it for all kinds of things. So yeah, could it be a real space? You could have offices, you could have a classroom, you could have meeting spaces, all those kinds of things potentially could happen
Potentially.
downstairs. Yeah.
And then it's also going to be painted this
That's
spring,
happening
right?
this summer.
Summer, yeah.
Yes.
I think the contract's already in place, so.
Same color. Same color.
We're gonna go with purple.
No barn red.
No, it'll,
Everyone's
yeah, same
favorite.
color. Sorry, that was Kate will get that one.
All right, anything else for Kurt? All right. Glenn, I'm so sorry I missed you sitting there. Can you come up and join us? I don't know why I called Neely up here and not you. Well, it would be nice. I think if whoever's presenting and talking at the meeting, come join. We'll make room for you guys. Even if we have to share microphones. All right. Well, while he's getting situated, we'll go on to the community engagement report, and that's Jess.
Sure. All right. So first things first, our spring summer program guide is out. This was the first official issue where we have 2 seasons in one issue. So that's a new thing that we'll be doing. We were able to fit everything, which made Riley really happy. And then as we add, obviously, of course, like we have a date for our Idaho Explorers Camp grand opening that came out after this did. So much like this event, anything that gets added, we'll share on social media, via email, and all that good stuff. I would like to highlight, I probably did this at the last meeting, and I'm going to keep doing it until we get full, that we do have all day, week-long summer camps this summer that will serve as daycare replacement, both in the Georgetown Township area, so Hager Park and Grand River Park. Those are the 2 sites that we were able to get licensed. So if you know folks in that area, please feel free to share, and that will help Noelle stop stressing so much about it. And I think we're going to talk about this a little bit later because I'm on the agenda with a related budget adjustment. So moving into some of the partner stuff that I want to highlight, we are like, spring is here. People, the tiny turtles are out and we are really busy. The blue erasers are moving around. That went viral this weekend, which was super fun. So this coming weekend to celebrate Earth Day, we have a number of things happening, but I want to mention a partnership with John Ball Zoo. It's a countywide BioBlitz. I think we talked about that a little bit at the last meeting. So if you're out and about, download iNaturalist, take some pictures of the species that you find. And if you're in Ottawa or Kent County, you will help be contributing to this countywide effort. I think the stew crew has some fun stuff planned to get all those little guys. On May 16th, this is something that didn't actually make it into the newsletter, so I really would like to highlight it. I'd love to have some of you folks there if you're available. May 16th from 5 to 7, Culture Works and the Careerline Tech Center Environmental Field Studies program are partnering with us to showcase sculptures of native Michigan fauna in honor of Endangered Species Day. Really excited about it. I really love the idea of using the Nature Center as a space to showcase more local art, especially from students. We'll be hosting, as we often do, the native plant sale that is run by the Conservation District on May 17th, so the next day. So there's going to be a lot happening that weekend, but it's a fundraiser for them, so come and buy lots of plants. We're really excited. As an aside, this is maybe a little bit later in our report, and maybe on Neely's report also, the stewardship team and the park steward volunteers put together native seed packets for us to give away for free at the Nature Center, and they are flying off the shelves. So it's been really fun to see. It's a really popular thing. It's getting new folks into the Nature Center, which we love. So thank you to all the volunteers for collecting seed and processing and using their origami skills to fold little envelopes up. They're very cute. Working on getting someone from the Farm Bureau, from the Agricultural Education Division, to do a free weekly program during our summer camp. Really excited about that partnership and working with them more. They came to us. They're very busy during the school year doing their, I think they've got a K-5 program, might be middle school also. And they said, can you help keep us busy in the summer? And we said, yeah, let's do it. Elias did one of their programs and can vouch, my 7-year-old. So he said it was very fun. So we're looking forward to that. Let's see, what else do we have? Oh, Step It Up starts next week. So when I submitted this report, we had 400 ish folks registered. We are up to almost 800. So
Oh,
really,
holy
really
moly.
exciting. I would say we're usually between 800 and 1,000 people registered. We don't have 1,000 people coming to group walks, which is a good thing because I would get a little crazy. But they can be quite busy. We'd love to have you if you're signed up. And then we're working on sharing this with HR. If you're a county employee, you do get vitality points for coming to group walks and also reporting your steps throughout this challenge and also participating in the Grand Explorers Trail Race. That is the final kind of what we culminate in when after we
You
wrap
get
up.
what points?
The Grand River
No, what points do you get?
So there's a-
vitality points. They're
There's a
for our
Vitality.
wellness
insurance.
incentive
I thought you were
program
saying a
for
different
county
word.
employees.
An app.
Vitality.
You
That's
yes,
what I
yeah.
All right, gotcha.
Yeah, county employees and those who are covered under the program. But it's the first time we've been able to formally partner with our human resources department to do this through county insurance, which is pretty cool. So I'm telling you, it's good stuff. I would say otherwise we've just been really busy. I think Tabitha's still here behind me. She's keeping us, we're keeping her busy. She's keeping us busy. Really excited to note that we will do we did our first trailside first aid. So Tabitha's a certified RN, and we had the county emergency outreach department CERT, I think is the acronym. Don't ask me what it stands for. They're a volunteer group. They asked Tabitha to come do that training for them also. So pretty cool. We're really excited to see that take off. We recently had a meeting with some of our partners in the sheriff's department, the community policing officers, and we're working on bringing cops and bobbers back. They have lots of folks there who are really dedicated hunters and anglers. So I'm really excited to incorporate them into helping with some of our recreation programs. They also might be caboose volunteers for Step It Up. So if you see them at the end of a walk, give them a high five. Not in their gear, they'll be, in shorts and running shoes, but it's nice to start to be partnering with them again. So I've talked longer than I was planning on, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about stuff coming up
Anybody have anything for Jess?
more later.
Nice work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a super quick question about the Career Line Tech Center thing on May 16th. Is that like an open house format? Like, do you come and go, or is it like from 5 to 7? Like you should really be
I think
there?
it's meant to be come and go. We'll probably have a few words at the beginning.
Oh,
So
okay,
I'm
that's
kind of
good.
serving as like, yes, I want you to have this space. Avril and Miranda from, so Avril's from the Career Line Tech Center and Miranda is from Culture Works. They're kind of planning what the
Great.
students will do, but I imagine we'll talk about the work some.
Great.
So I know I
That's
can't tell if
exciting.
the students are excited or nervous. So it's always like a learning experience for them too. Thank you. And once I have more details, I'll make sure you guys all get
Okay.
more formal invite.
That's awesome.
Thank you to Tabitha for all the new programs and things you're involved in. I saw, I think it said 15. Is that what you said?
Oh yeah, 15 and counting. new
That's
programs.
a pile. So that's very cool. Thanks.
Good. All right. Thanks, Jess. We'll keep going with the Natural Resources Management Report and Neely.
So March feels like a long time ago already. And I also went on vacation for a week. I was not in Florida. I went back in time to winter, which was actually really nice. I was in Colorado. So anyway, back here, I don't have a ton to add to my report. Obviously it's spring, so we're kind of shifting gears and the stewardship crew is very, very busy. Doing a lot of garlic mustard pulling, preparing for prescribed fire, doing some vernal pool monitoring stuff. Like Jessica mentioned, we have the City Nature Challenge coming up this coming weekend, so the 25th through the 28th. It's like a regional BioBlitz, like she said. And our vernal pool monitoring visit with the park stewards on Friday will be part of it. So that'll be a nice addition. Let's see. And then the other Earth Day events that she already mentioned, obviously a lot of garlic mustard pulling going on. So if anyone is interested in pulling garlic mustard, we have a ton of volunteer opportunities up there on the website. let's see if anyone's familiar with the Virginia Bluebell site out at Eastmanville Farm. I've heard they're starting to flower.
Oh my
Jess, I'm
gosh,
not sure
wow.
how accessible it is. Jess, have you been out to Eastmanville
I
lately?
have not, but we will go out there soon. Matt and I were actually just kind of bickering
I
about
was
whether it
planning
was
on
high water or
checking
not.
it out on Friday, so hopefully we'll be able to get out there in a couple weeks to pull some garlic mustard with park stewards. So a little incentive to join our park stewards group if anyone hasn't been able to do that yet. The stewardship crew also has a greenhouse that is in the middle of being constructed right now at Eastmanville Farm. So it's a small greenhouse, kind of a pilot program that we've been working on to try to grow some of our own plants in-house, some of our own native plants, both to make sure that we have super local genotypes, but also it's in the long run, it will theoretically save us a lot of money, right? So we're growing our own plants instead of having to purchase them. I'm also working with the health department and then faculty from Kelvin to continue our tick monitoring project. So there's a professor from Kelvin who's been monitoring tick populations at a few of our parks, mostly lakeshore parks, since I think he started in 2021. So looking at different tick species. So for species richness and diversity, and then also looking at some of those vector-borne diseases. So obviously Lyme disease is the first thing that comes to mind for most of us, but there's some other notable ones out there. So they're doing a lot of cool stuff out there, even if it is sort of a gross topic for most of us. And then I'm not sure if anyone was able to attend last summer's tick talk. But and I'm sad that Jessica missed that because that was her name idea. She forced it on us. But I think we'll do another tick talk this summer. And I would
It's
encourage
actually really good.
yeah.
Yeah,
I would
very
encourage everyone
interesting.
to go also because this Kelvin professor is the one that did the presentation last year, and I believe that he will be leading it again, even if the health department does take part as well. And he's super interesting. He knows a lot about the ticks, obviously, but he also has a background in landscape ecology and wildlife ecology. So he started out as a deer ecologist. So he's got a great perspective, tells a really interesting story. And I would definitely recommend going.
When is that?
We're not sure yet.
Oh, okay.
So it's something that we're putting together that we did have a TikTok last summer and we're hoping to do it again this summer, just not sure exactly when. And then with that, I saved the best for last. I mentioned that we were working on some prescribed fire planning. So we are hoping to burn at both Stearns Creek South and Stearns Creek North this spring. So Stearns Creek South, we're burning with a contractor, probably in the next 2 weeks, and then Stearns North. So that one's a 53-acre burn unit, pretty large, but we've burned there before. And then Stearns North, we're actually hoping to burn in-house. So it's a little 3-acre burn unit, but I'm pretty excited about it, and it's part of our development of our more robust in-house burn crew. So if anybody has any questions about that or even wants to take part in it, just let me know. And with that, I think that's everything I had, unless anyone has follow-up questions.
This photo of the burn here, was this
Yeah.
in Kalamazoo?
It
from-
was,
okay.
yeah. So that was, I believe that was a production plot for one of the native seed production companies in Kalamazoo that the Nature Center burns for them.
Oh, okay. All
Yeah.
right, thanks.
Yeah.
I know Amon Park is not a Ottawa County park, but if
Yeah.
you want to go see the bluebells,
Yeah.
it's pretty accessible and they're pretty amazing. I was out there last Saturday and they're just starting, so I don't know how they
Oh,
are.
they were last
Awesome.
Saturday.
Just barely, so
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice.
they'll last for a couple weeks out there.
Yeah. And they're usually just a little bit ahead of us, but yeah, just any of the spring ephemerals at Amon Park are amazing. And then if anybody doesn't know, Hager Park is also really great for spring ephemerals, and Gross Park too.
Mhm.
So 'tis the season.
Great. Anything else for Neely?
I had two questions. I think you might have answered one of them at the end there, but you guys are able to have volunteers participate in prescribed burns?
Yeah, and sort of, it depends on who the contractor that we're working with is and the complexity of the fire. So the contractor that we're working with for the Stearns Fire is the same as the one that we worked with at Hiawatha last fall. So he is comfortable with volunteers participating on sort of a limited basis. So things like helping with mop up or, helping hold the line after it's been lit. So, and it also, it's kind of depends on the specific volunteer also. So, yeah, but shoot me an email. We can talk about it more for sure.
Something I grew up doing, but I don't get to do it anymore because I don't live
Right?
on a prairie farm anymore.
Yeah, and I mean, as we continue to develop our in-house burn program, we'll likely be doing more fires. So there's definitely some opportunities there.
Haley, I know this wasn't on your list, but Eastmanville Farms, if we're
Yes.
kind of picking on that one today.
Yeah.
I remember something about releasing some wild cows on the property there.
Yeah, that's basically
Something
the
along those
plan.
lines.
No, so there had been a few different iterations of plans at Eastmanville Farm, obviously. I think that ultimately, though, our hope is to take most of it out of row crops. And so, as I'm sure you know, on the south side of Leonard, we've already taken that we did not renew those leases once those leases came up. So on the south side of Leonard, the lower 12 acres, we're hoping to convert to floodplain forest. So we've done some plantings and invasive species removal to kind of move in that direction. And then the upper like 20 acres or so, I think the original goal was an ecosystem type called bur oak plains, right? Yeah. But the bur oaks that we planted were unfortunately all killed by bucks using them for buck rubs. So lesson learned there. But after several years, our the native seeds that we dispersed actually did start to come up. So we've been doing a lot of spot treatments, herbicide treatments to get rid of some of those common agricultural weeds and cool season grasses that keep coming up. So that's actually looking really good. And then as far as the north side of Leonard, which is obviously the larger of the two halves, it's a little bit more complicated than that, but we do have a plan that we started putting into action several years ago that we kind of got stalled out on because of funding issues, where we have a farm manager, Dave Houlikamp, who is the farmer that had been leasing it. So right now he's considered our farm manager, and we're hoping, and I think that we want to get this restarted again once we figure out what's going on with all the federal funding things, to do some restoration stuff there. So taking some of the parcels out of row crops, doing some warm season grasses instead of cool season grasses, to help out grassland birds, and then some pollinator plantings as well. And then I think that kind of on our wish list, long-term plan, there are some bison that have been bandied about a bit, but who knows?
Somewhat.
Bison.
Oh, yeah. That's
Yeah.
what I remember hearing.
So, and that would be, that would be beneficial for grasslands, like large ungulates like that.
Or elk are native. I didn't realize,
Yeah.
right, as we were talking about this as a project in the future for our strategic planning, the bison, from my research, aren't native to Michigan. So
They're not.
No.
But elk are.
Elk are.
Our current elk herd, the current elk herd that resides in Michigan is not necessarily genetically native or local, but elk are native to Michigan. So who knows?
Gaylord, I think, has a herd.
Well, yeah, and it's kind of like in the Pigeon River State Forest area. So yeah, like Atlanta area. There historically there were elk there. They were extirpated, and then they brought in genetics from out west. So there's a herd that is managed there now, and they fill the same ecological niche. And to the just to look at them, you can't really tell the difference. But genetically, who knows?
And if you were to want to do bison and elk are compatible to have in the same enclosure.
Good.
All right. On that note, any final questions for Neely?
Thank you.
Maybe that'll be a separate presentation topic in the coming months. So that's good stuff. All right, we'll move on to the development report with Glenn.
So you have our March numbers in front of you, and I can go through those, but the takeaway from it all is that all of our numbers improved year over year, month over month from the past, and I think that it just demonstrates that there's a real growing appreciation among the population for the parks programming here and the work that our colleagues do out in the parks and everything. So and it shows in the public appreciation. So very, very pleased about that. And some of our growth has been significant, quite frankly. We did receive a $100,000 commitment last month for the Rosie Mound Nature Area campaign. That campaign has reached over 70% now as of the beginning of this month, continues to grow. So that's all good news. The Grand Haven and Spring Lake Rotary Clubs have signed the commitment forms for their Ottawa Sands Lake Loop overlook. So that project will be executed this summer, over the course of the summer. And we did have a fireside chat on March 20th at Hemlock Crossing. Aaron Waldemasta offered an update on the Grand River Greenway project. And one thing that I did not put on here, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention, was the fact that we still have our breakfast lunch fundraiser on June 12 up at Grand Ravines. And I know that lunch is getting pretty tight, but breakfast still has lots of availability. So I hope that everyone here will come. So.
All the who's who of the parks comes to the breakfast. I'm just going
Absolutely.
to say.
It's the place to be.
All right, great. Questions for Glenn? All right, we will keep going. Thanks, Glenn. With the strategic plan progress report. Any highlights we want to call out on that, Jason? I know it's pretty complete
well,
already.
So the red text denotes the updates, but I think the big milestone, we did a work session with our senior leadership team and went through and did a in-depth presentation of each of the division plans and feedback, and then dug into the project list. So all in preparation to refine for our upcoming meeting with the board work session with the Board of Commissioners. That then, to remind everybody, this will then feed into the 5-year Parks and Recreation plan that Kurt's so hardly working on. So, and I know I think the goals for the work session and the agenda might have gone out yesterday. Yeah, so we're looking forward to that.
Yeah, hopefully everybody can set aside that May 7th, because that's really going to be a key date for commissioners to have some input and share with park staff. So
That's a Wednesday, right?
is it?
Yep.
Okay.
Whenever the invite came out.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
know it's the 7th, but I don't know what day of week it is. So, all right, great. Thanks. Any questions for Jason on that? All right, we'll keep rolling with the visitors and visitor and business services report. So Nick, your first official report.
My first official report, day 45 on the job here. So first off, thank you to everyone. Being the new person is not easy, but the team we have here has made it a lot easier than it could be. So I didn't let you go on vacation. Yeah, I did not go on vacation, for the record. Put that in the minutes, please.
I thought last week, Wednesday through Saturday was a vacation.
Yeah, 16-hour days are
Not
great.
cleaning bathrooms.
But
What do you mean, Kelly?
on your point of cleaning bathrooms, we got a survey results 5 out of 5 perfect score on bathroom cleanliness during the test run. So
Hey, Nick. Now you know that's
if you
part of
haven't
your
sent in a
job
survey, don't do it yet. Anyway, so 45 days in, not much data to share in this report because obviously I'm new. So the biggest thing is just the overall thought process so far. Like I said, it's been going great. Since everybody is very good at what they do here, it's easy to hit the ground running, which we have done. So a couple things just to point out, some accomplishments we've been make it happen. We have set the grand opening for 3 PM on May 22nd for Item Explorers Camp. We just completed a test run of the campground April 16th through 19th to identify any issues that need to be fixed before that. We are opening the campground to the public the next day on May 23rd. We are all working together, all departments very closely, and we have a tentative goal of early May that online reservations will go live. When they do go live, folks will be able to make reservations for May 23rd and after, depending on our staffing and their willingness and readiness to get going. We may even open a little earlier, but that is a lofty goal, but we'll see what happens. But for sure, the 23rd will be open to the public. Huge shout out to my friends at Community Engagement. Riley and Jessica have been amazing, helping me out a lot. Riley's finishing up a video tour of all of our rental facilities in the campground. Being that they're so unique, it's really hard to explain that over the phone to somebody. So we want to have a resource that people can click on, do a video tour, see some more pictures, which will help people plan their stay a little bit better. Also, they helped me put the survey together for the test camping run. We had 45 questions. Riley helped me yesterday to kind of put that together into a rough draft. I have a quick report on that. We were able to meet with the Grand Haven CVB and talk about that new partnership and how we're going to work with them to market the campground. That went very well. I had a chance to meet with Elaine and our reservation specialists who oversee all of our indoor facilities. They're doing a great job. They're starting to get pretty busy. Only a couple times in May that they're not fully booked. So, and then in addition to all that wonderful stuff, I still continue my work at the state level. I serve as the president of the Michigan Association of County Park and Rec Officials, and I'm on the leadership team of the Michigan Park and Rec Association. Right now, we're kind of working together on a lot of things, but one of them being some potential joint legislative priorities. And if we move forward with that, I'll bring that to the board for your information. On to kind of the results of the test camping. Like I said, 5 out of 5 on bathroom cleanliness, which we're very happy about. I think the biggest thing is I don't know many people here yet. So when we started talking about this, Jessica and Jason and a lot of other folks had some very good ideas on who we should reach out to, because we wanted people that are going to be brutally honest, good, bad, indifferent. We wanted the hard truth before we open this up and ask people to pay to stay in a place. So I think we definitely did a great job with the folks that we selected. And with that, I got a lot of great feedback. But the best thing I think is there wasn't anything huge. There wasn't any glaring, crazy error or miss. I think everybody did a great job with this project. There was a lot of little things, like we need more hooks to hang up our coats and our towels. Maybe think about moving this light or adjusting a thermostat. So nothing really big except for the ice cold shower first thing in the morning, which thankfully was me that experienced that, not our guest. So thank you to Kurt and operations for getting right out there and adjusting those showers so that nobody else had to experience that. So there's some little stuff, and I've worked with Kurt and we working with Jason to fix those. But overall, knowing that everyone was being very as critical as they possibly could, the overall experience rating was a 4.5 out of 5 without any changes being made yet. Comfort and cleanliness was a 4.6 out of 5. And 100% of the people said they would recommend it to somebody else. Some issues that we found, some of the signage was not easy to see at night. They'd like some more maps, some more information about things to do for campers, especially if they're not from the area. We had some water and electrical issues that are being worked on. Adding hooks and shelves in places that you might need it in the bathroom or in your yurt and tree house. And yeah, so overall, I think it's a good place right now, but after we make these very quick changes, it's going to be a great place to stay. So that's all I have, unless you have any questions.
Great, thanks, Nick.
Great.
Questions for Nick?
Were you brutally honest, Kelly?
Yep.
Yes, everybody
No, it
was.
was nice.
This is great, and
No,
I
it was
appreciate
really
that.
great. It was awesome.
We
I think
wanted
Nick
that.
should live out there all the time though, because he,
Yeah.
you know, having great campground hosts is a good thing. So
Yeah, and I also want to call out another thank you to Howard Mitchell. He's our,
Yeah, Howard was great.
campground supervisor. He right now is there by himself, so it was me and Howard handling that test run. We have filled all but one position for his team, but I just want to say Howard is a very hardworking person. He's going to do a great job for us, and we're lucky to have him on the team. So
Were you able to find people to try out the tent camping pads?
unfortunately, not. We were not able to fill those volunteer positions. I think due to the impending giant thunderstorms and cold temperatures. So.
I was seriously considering it, but you know,
Yeah.
it was only going to happen if my 3-year-old also wanted to go, and I didn't think I
Yeah.
could subject him to the whatever degrees night it was going to be. So
Electric outlets are you can have.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
you can put electric heater in there.
All right.
Not
Well,
too
we also
much, but-
discussed it. We thought the big kids would be into it, but then the little one got a fever, and we're like, maybe not.
If it
30-degree
wasn't for having to get
camping.
2 kids to
I
different
know.
school districts in the morning, I totally.
All right, thanks, Nick. We're going to keep rolling because we've got a pretty full agenda yet here. With the committee reports, the executive committee report, keep it pretty short. There are a lot of agenda and action items, and we talked through most of those at the executive committee as well as the other subcommittees. I think probably the only main thing to call out is we had a little bit more discussion on some dedications. We'll talk about the naming policy. You guys probably got a chance to review it already, but just to call out that probably later this year, we are going to be talking about a couple honorary dedications that will fall under that policy as well. So just wanted to bring that up. And I'm really just talking about formatting and the monthly staff and the committee reports and how we format them in a consistent way and tie it all into the strategic plan. So happy to take any questions, but other than that, we'll be talking about 90% of our discussion on the action items here. So. All right, we'll keep going with the planning committee report, and that is Lucas.
Okay, we'll make it brief, but we covered some discussions on vehicle charging stations at Ottawa Sands. So that's kind of a work in progress there. Eastmanville Farm, we talked about that a lot already today. Kurt covered the request for proposals that they're working on. Grant updates, I guess, as far as, you know, with Aaron in his prowess in preparing grants, we're just, once again, we're super lucky to have him doing that work. And it's a tradition here of getting amazing grants for, I think, the last 30 years and being very successful. And I think our millage it helps with that a lot too. Excited to get the parks plan going, the rec plan going, and starting to review some chapters that are out there. I think we'll all take part in that here over the next year. And I think we'll leave it at that if there's any questions.
Anything for Lucas? All right, thanks, Lucas. We'll keep going with finance and policy, and that is Linda.
We had an interesting meeting at 10 o'clock in the morning. So for all of you who don't like 3 o'clock, try 10 o'clock in the morning. It was like work, and I'm retired. I don't do work. So our main topic of discussion, we had 15 items, I think is what we ended up with. But the main topic of conversation ended up having to do with a review of the bylaws so that we could be in compliance with what the Board of Commissioners and Josh Berger's team is doing. And then second discussion about the review of the commission skills matrix. So if you haven't read the bylaws review, then one major item was we took out the endorsement piece of it, but we also added in the skills matrix to help the Board of Commissioners understand that there are some skills that are required to be, that are certainly helpful to have. And we're not telling them how to do their job, but we are trying to encourage them to look at what we might need. And then the rest of the items are pretty self-explanatory. We're going to see most of those also in action items. So I'm happy to answer questions other than that.
Anything for Linda? All right. Way to consolidate it down.
Well,
Summary.
there
It
was
a
no,
long
there was,
meeting.
I believe there was some talk that I would run a tight and ship, a tight ship on that meeting. And we got done in 2 hours and 10 minutes. So.
So, all right, thanks. All right, well, we're gonna let you keep rolling. Jane is absent today and Martin couldn't make it to community engagement. So Linda, you can go ahead and give that summary as well.
I think this report also lends itself to just telling you what went on. But I think one of the really important things of this report and is that the community engagement team is doing some strategic visioning of their own. And when you look at it, please look at it with an open eye of, man, this would be really cool if we could do this. Nobody's saying we're going to do this tomorrow. There was some concern about that, but it's really, really interesting stuff that we might look at over the next 30 years. As we've already done this 30 years, what might the next 30 years look like? And I also think one of the really cool things on this one had to do with our engagement with Career Line Tech. They already help us in the parks. Neely uses them as they do education through Career Line Tech with our staff, so we get free labor kind of, but they get education out of it. And so this is maybe going a little more deep into that. And I thought that was really interesting. Also, the rest of this, you will see budget adjustments and the like in the rest of the agenda.
Any
Excuse me,
questions for Linda?
for me.
All
I
right.
should say, no.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Do you want to
This-
add something else?
Did you say Art in the Park this weekend
Oh, yeah.
is Saturday?
Oh,
Saturday.
yes,
Art
Saturday.
for the Parks
Yes.
this Saturday.
That event
Food
is,
truck is really good. It's Parliament Pizza and they're really good.
yes, the event is from 5 to 8 at the Nature Center. Come buy some art. Support the Parks Foundation.
Awesome. Good shout out. Great. And then we had the foundation update, but Jane said there's not really much to update there, just
for Art for the Parks.
art. Yeah, exactly. The Lakeshore, what is it? The Lakeshore Visual Arts Collective
Job,
is,
yep.
is on Saturday. And what's the time again?
5
I
to
just-
8.
5 to 8. So at the Nature Education.
A donation is requested, not required.
So there's a lot of goods. And then we have the Item Explorers Camp on May 22nd. June 12th is the breakfast and lunch. So they've all kind of been mentioned. There are a lot of different things and the foundation's tied into a lot of those. So yeah, clear your calendars, people. All right, we will keep going with the Ottawa County Parks and Recreation Commission visitation report, which is just for information only. We have been going through this on a couple different committees. I think Aaron's compiling this based on the Placer AI data, but this is kind of the format. I think it's going to be included every month. So here's kind of well, it's not really a sample because this is what we'll see, but I think it's a really great visual depiction of our visitation data. And Jess, did you want to say anything else about it?
Just that, you know, Placer's got a ton of information. So we've really tried to narrow down, and Aaron's, I say we, but he's really done all of that. But we've done a lot of discussing, you know, what would be most valuable to you as commissioners. And we can look at a lot of different things. So if there is anything you're like, I wonder about this, I'd like to see it on a regular basis, we can probably get it. So if you're ever kind of looking through this and think there would be something that would be helpful, let us know and we can work on adding that. I think it's worth drawing attention to that operational zone map. That'll be really an interesting way to look at visitation as we think about rolling out our strategic plan and staffing. But yeah, this is compressing a lot of information down into hopefully a few key slides.
So I think a lot of the committee folks like this because it's at a quick glance visually, you can look at the graphs and go, oh, great, I can see what's going on. But if you want to get into the weeds of the park near your house or something like that, it has the table at the end too for each individual park on visitation numbers too. So yeah, kudos to you guys for pulling this together. So any questions on that? Otherwise, I think we'll just kind of let it stand as is. All right. Last item in old business is the Bend Area Expansion Phase 3 Grant Agreement Amendment that we have here. And this is just a time extension, correct, Kurt? So we just have a motion to extend the grant.
Current grant is May 30, I believe, and this goes to November 30. So I know we told you that a million times. We're
Yeah.
close.
Yeah, a lot of moving parts. So this has gone to planning and the executive committee, maybe another committee as well over the last, but do we have a motion? Someone who'd like to make the motion?
So moved.
Okay, thank you, Linda.
Support.
Thanks, Joe. All right, any questions? Comments? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. All right, motion carries. And we will move to new business. And I think if it's okay with everyone, maybe we'll reorder the agenda and move the shoreline. Oh my gosh, I knew this.
Amateur Astronomical Association.
Association. I had it before the meeting started, so.
You practice.
I think just since we have some information and we have some esteemed guests that maybe we could take a look at that first, so we aren't holding everybody here longer than necessary. Welcome. Yeah, if
Thank
you
you.
don't mind giving an introduction and we'll pull up the information here.
Thank you for having us this afternoon and spending some time with us. Thank you, Jessica, for the info and the invite. Since it is a tongue breaker,
Oh, that'll turn your mic off. Let me know when to advance the slide.
yeah, that's fine.
Do it for you.
Yeah, just make sure if
So
you could.
since it is a tongue
please-
breaker, that's why we call it SAAA. And you see, we changed our logo to the observatory as it is now in Hemlock Crossing Park. It's your observatory. We operate it. And we wanted to give you a little bit of information about what we have done last year and what we are planning to do this year. This is a picture of the solar eclipse. That was April of last year, which was total in the US and about 95% in Michigan. And we had about 400 people attending, despite the fact that it was not total. So we attract a lot of people. If you can go to the next slide, Jessica. So these are the numbers for the years that we operated. So I would say about 15 to 1,800 people that we attract to the observatory each year, which is also good for the parks and good for Hemlock. We see a lot of people that are hiking there come to our observatory, but also vice versa. A lot of people that go to the observatory visit Hemlock in the parks. The other thing is that we are reaching out to a lot of other people around Hemlock, which are the libraries in Grand Haven, Holland, and the other town here, I forgot it. But also the tourism bureaus. And a lot of people that visit Michigan and the beaches are informed by Grand Haven and Holland tourism bureaus that there is an observatory and a park to see. And Hemlock is, in that respect, a very well-suited park for the observatory. Definitely the solar eclipse, the auroras of last year, and the comet that was able that we could see impacted our attendance in a positive way. Next slide, please. So what we have done last year is we installed a pier, and you see a white box next to the observatory if you visit for a solar scope. So on Saturday afternoons in the weekends, so we allow people to look at the sun. We also repaired our scope because we had a motherboard failure. We had a burn there, so we needed to replace that. That impacted definitely our numbers. Astronomy Days 2024 were not our strong point. And I apologize to Jessica about the bad planning. This year is much better, and I'll come back to that later. And I would like to thank Jessica and the Jasons here for great cooperation. Also with the Nature Center people that are, George, who is working there, is also part of our membership. And we have a close cooperation with those people, and that helps everybody. And we do a lot of private tours. So on Monday night, we have a lot of private clubs from the libraries, but also from HASP that are retired engineers from Holland, from Hope College. They do a private tour. So on Monday night, we have an introduction presentation in the Hemlock Nature Center, because on Mondays, the Nature Center is closed. And after that, we do observatory at the telescope. And with those private tours, again, we get a lot of attention, a lot of positive feedback, and a lot of outreach. 2025, we have a lot of plans. Again, we had to repair something because we had a lot of loss of power. We have 2 astronomy days this year, and May 3rd, which is next Saturday, is extensively promoted on your website. We have a great program, solar observing at the scope, presentation. We do a planet walk. The only thing we need is better weather.
Yes,
Because
right.
so far in 2025, we had 1 Friday night when we do public observing on Friday nights. There was 1 night where we had public observing. We also do special membership meetings. Every Tuesday night, we have for our members, and we have about 60 members observing because we want the scope to be utilized more and better. We cleaned last Saturday entire dome and scope and everything inside out, spring cleaning. We have a lot of interest for private tours, but again, the weather needs to cooperate. We just met with your IT people, and again, very cooperative and open for discussion, because we would like to install a weather station and a all-sky camera. So that should be also publicly available via the web. And the all-sky camera is basically to take a look at meteors, everything that passes overhead, and the sky. We also worked out, and we tested that from our scope, we are able to submit live pictures into the Nature Center. So on the screen at the Nature Center, you can see, without getting cold or being bitten by mosquitoes, you can see what we can see on the scope. And that worked out pretty nice.
Wow, cool.
I wanted to show you 2 pictures, what we can do from Hemlock. So this is a picture by one of our members, Travis. And these are 2 galaxies, M81 and M82, that he took in a 20-hour exposure from Hemlock. So he can remotely set up his scope and collecting data and pixels. And that's one of the examples that we can do from Hemlock. And the other picture is a picture we took through the telescope to the mid 16-inch telescope that is in the observatory. This is Jupiter, the planet Jupiter. And again, an example just to show you what we can do from that Hemlock observatory.
Cool.
Okay, that was it. 10 minutes gone. Any questions?
Great, thank you. Do we have questions? Oh, don't sit down. Wait, does anyone have any questions? We might have some.
Good, if you have questions, let me know then.
Are there any special events happening this year that we know of?
So any special?
The astronomy days.
Yeah,
think
that's
you mean
May
in the
3rd.
sky.
You mean
In the
Right, in the
sky, no, not,
Meteor showers.
yeah, meteor shower in August, but that is annually, that's the Perseids. And then we are at Holland State Park, at the beach. So we work closely with those guys because there is also what they call Meteor and S'mores annual event. And that's a state park-wide event in Michigan, where we are with telescopes, and in the meantime, they do the s'mores thing. Yep.
Yeah, the public must be, are you getting feedback from the public who's attending your programs then?
Yeah, I mean, we still, and I'm always very thrilled and pleased with that if we show Saturn with the rings or Jupiter or the moon, that we get all the ahs and the ohs and wow, and
Yeah.
that's why we do it, right?
That's great.
Yeah,
That's
cool.
wonderful. Anyone else? Questions, comments? All right, thank you so much. We appreciate the information you shared. Thank you.
The week after you buy your art at the Nature Center, then you have to come do our solar system walk the next Saturday. We're going to keep you all very busy.
Nice, nice. Thank you so much for coming. All right, we will keep going with what is now item 11B, formerly A, which is the resolution supporting Great Lakes funding. I think this actually got before every committee this month, so hopefully everybody had a chance to review and comment on. So we have a proposed resolution, but if we have a motion someone to make the motion so we can discuss the item?
So moved.
Okay, thanks, Martin. Do we have a second?
A second.
Okay, thanks, Phil. All right. Any question? I guess it's pretty, since everyone's already seen this and discussed, had a chance to discuss it, I don't know that, unless there's questions, comments on the final version here. All right. I think it's good. It's always, the GLRI has always had really great bipartisan support, so it was nice of Field to call this out as probably needing our attention, so. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. All right, motion carries. We will keep going with the social media guidelines. And that is, sorry, was that you, Jess? I don't have, yeah. Is there anything, I know this was shared or discussed with community engagement. So Linda, and between you and Jess, if you want to add anything on this.
I think the only thing I would say to keep Jess off the hook, this is try to help keep us all out of trouble on the various platforms. And a reminder that Parks does not participate in the informed groups. We might participate individually, some of you might, but Parks does not. Occasionally, they will respond to something that gets said on there that is incredibly not right, or somebody didn't have all the facts, and they will, they won't get into a discussion with somebody, but they will provide them the link to go look at the actual information. So I think that's the thing I wanted to say. Jessica probably has a lot more to say, but it's really about keeping us all out of trouble and being smart about what we say online, because we do represent the parks.
Sure.
So when people see our names, they do know who we are, and we should be responsible about that.
The best reminder I ever received was like 2007 or 2008. And it was, if you wouldn't say it at a cocktail party, don't say it online. So, yep. So in this is just some guidelines, as Linda pointed out. And then I also included, so the Board of Commissioners has a social media policy for employees that of course we have to adhere to. So I thought that might also be of interest. So our guidelines are not in any way to supersede those, but to work in partnership with.
Great. Questions? Comments? Pretty straightforward, I think. All right, that's just for information only, so we don't need a vote on that. We will keep going with the print and mailing services contract. This has come before community engagement as well.
Finance.
And finance, correct. Sorry about that. Yes, both. So we have a suggested motion there, if anyone would like to make that.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, thanks, Linda. Do we have a support?
Support?
Thanks, Lucas. All right, Jess, you want to just give us for the folks who aren't on either of those committees, just a
Sure.
super quick rundown?
Yep. So we had a 2-year contract with a different company and put together a bid just because we had decided we needed a new game plan for our newsletter. We know paper costs are increasing. We were mailing to, we have a good list, but we're mailing to that same list 4 times a year. And what we've been finding over the years is a lot of the times especially our summer and winter issues look really similar, right? We've got motor vehicle permit stuff in there every summer. We've got pigeon information in there every winter. And it's not that that's not important, but we just weren't sure that that was the best use of funds year over year to that kind of same core group of people. So I'd mentioned that this is the first issue that is dual season. So we'll be moving to that as we go forward. So you'll see spring and summer together and fall and winter together. And then we'll also do a piece that's kind of a year in review. We're calling it the annual report, but it might not be like the annual report exactly the same. But just as we fill up this document with more program information, we realize that we do need to give people news about what's going on. So that piece would be more focused on what are parks doing? How can you get involved? And then we also budgeted for what we're calling a welcome to Ottawa County piece. And we'll be using a different mailing list for that we'll purchase. It's a one-time the way it works is be one-time use list. We won't even see it. It will come through our printer and we will send it to folks who've moved to Ottawa County or within Ottawa County in the last 6 months. I believe that's the strategy that the county uses for their mailing. They get kind of a list from the printer and that's how, you know, they get their names and addresses. There's also an alternate that got bid that could combine the annual report that we'd send and that welcome packet together. So there's a little bit of flexibility. This would be a 3-year contract with the option to renew, looking at a 4% increase after year 1 for the print and mailing services. I always like to point out this excludes postage as that is not set by our printers. They can't guarantee what pricing for that looks like.
The welcome mailing,
Mhm.
is that going to go out every 6 months then, or is that once every year?
We would do that annually, most likely. Like I said, we did bid it to also go to with that annual report. So depending on what we don't want to have is like overlap of the lists because we don't see them. So it's something we've got to talk with the printer about and make sure people aren't say getting the annual report and then getting a welcome pack. You know what I mean? We want to make sure we get it all timed out appropriately. So at least annually, potentially twice a year.
The reason I asked mainly just being that it seems like a good resource for people who are new, but if the list only includes people who've moved in the last 6 months, then in theory you might only get half the people.
Right. Yep. So I've got to talk with our printer about how those get refreshed. And like I said, just what we wouldn't want to do is use that same list inadvertently.
Yeah.
We want to make sure we're catching whatever that previous 6 months term was. So and that's a little new for us. We've only typically used our own mailing list. So that'll be some learning to do. And we do find, you know, we talked about having a welcome piece because so many of the people that use our parks are new to the area and, you know, we hear that all the time at Hemlock Crossing. Oh, I just moved here. This is so cool. So and we know our parks are a draw for people that are moving here. So taking advantage of that.
Any other questions for Jess on that? All right, we'll go ahead and put it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. All right, motion carries. And that will take us to the fiscal year 25 community engagement budget adjustments. This has been before community engagement and finance and policy, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So do we have someone who would like to make that motion?
Oh, I'll make that motion again since that's been my
You're
world
the
lately.
community, right? Do we have support?
Or
Okay, thanks, Phil. All right. Yeah, this is just, well, go ahead. Jess, do you want to give a quick summary again?
So I have.
Oh, sorry, Jason.
Well,
go ahead.
no, sorry, I had my finger up. I was trying not
Oh,
to.
I'm sorry.
So
I
just
was
a
looking-
note, we originally thought that this was going in the Board of Commissioners for the budget adjustment yesterday. So
That's
it was
right.
listed as ratify. So it doesn't need to be ratified. It would just be to approve.
Great. Thank you for the clarification. To approve. Okay. Jess, did you want to just give a quick on what
Sure.
the budget adjustment
Yep. So you've got a lot of numbers in front of you. I am going to use words because everything makes more sense to me in words than numbers. So essentially we, because we've got these 2 sites licensed for summer camps, we need to, if they fill up, staff them. So part of the biggest section of the budget adjustment is for seasonal part-time staff, or I should say part-time unbenefited staff to work the summer camps. So that employee expense wasn't budgeted for fiscal 25, so we had to go back and make the adjustment. There were a couple of other expenses, that environmental inspection, at both sites. And we had budgeted some camp revenue, but not, again, we weren't sure how many sites we would have. So that was a guess essentially, or well, I should say a guess, an estimated guess. So we increased the revenue there a little bit. The other adjustments are for recreation. So Tabitha is still here. She has brought a number of really awesome new programs to us, and a lot of those are taught through high quality external contractors. And we had to increase that expense so that we could pay them for the work that they're doing. So that's kind of a benefit for both parties, right? They get paid some, we get some, and we all grow our networks. And there's also an adjustment for supplies. So what that would be is archery equipment. We have a $500 grant that we'll use to purchase some of that, but I would like to get the rest of it purchased sooner than later so that we can offer archery at summer camps and also potentially build some regularly scheduled programming for parks that is archery related. And then that last bit there is recreation revenue. So I probably should have mentioned that when I mentioned the expenses. Like I said, we've got to increase the expense to pay those folks out, but they are also generating revenue for us. So all of this will be covered by revenue generated through programming, which is pretty cool.
Perfect. All right, questions? Comments? All right, we'll put it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. All right, motion carries. Okay, this takes us to item 11F. So we're back on the original lettering here. And that is the bylaw review and update. We do have, if you recall, a couple months ago, we did know that the Board of Commissioners was taking a look at our bylaws. And so we circulated it and asked for suggestions to address a couple other minor issues. So addressing the Board of Commissioner issue, the same as ours. So that's why we have the motion here. So everyone should have seen this and been involved in the procedure at some point. So we do have a suggested motion to approve and forward to the Board of Commissioners the updated Ottawa County Parks and Recreation Commission bylaws and rules of procedure. If someone would like to make that, and we'll open it up for discussion.
So moved.
Okay. Thanks, Lucas and Joe. All right, comments, questions? You'll see both versions, and there's a track changes and a clean version in here, so you can see exactly what was proposed for editing. Lynn, did you have something?
I
Being head
do.
of finance and policy.
I do. So you should know that we had the interim assistant county administrator in on the discussion about these bylaws changes. His recommendations were minor in nature, except there was quite the discussion about our practice to endorse candidates that were currently serving on the board to come on to the board. Apparently the wording had gotten changed from when we originally did it in 2022. So he was okay with us just changing that section to say we would endorse, if we would endorse our colleagues that want to come back onto the board. Having been through this now once with no problems and twice with considerable problems, there was a discussion to just remove it completely. And what that means is that we remove it and we hope that whoever is serving in, what is talent and recruitment now, Phil?
Appointment and alignment.
Appointment and alignment. And the Board of Commissioners will take into account what Jason Shamlin has to say, what whoever the current president has to say, if they will take the time to ask them. So I will tell you that is the major thing that we removed. I have other thoughts on that topic, but I will leave those until another time.
Thanks, Linda. Any questions? Comments? All right, we ready to vote on it then? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. All right, motion carries. All right. On item 11G is the facility amenity naming policy. And we have, sorry, I'm bouncing around here. Okay, so we just have a suggested motion to approve the proposed park facility amenity naming policy. If someone would like to make that.
I would move that.
Okay, thanks, Bruce. Do we have support?
Support?
Okay, thanks, Martin. All right, so we can go over this as kind of, there was an earlier version. Jason, did you want to just touch on this real quickly or?
So I've done quite a bit of research. We've talked about this several times before in the past. And so I probably looked at 12 or more different example policies and tried to incorporate a lot of the various things while providing opportunities, right, for interpretation for the Parks Commission, still provides kind of the broader overarching process and procedures and guidance to implement.
Great. Any questions, comments? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. All right, motion carries. Great. We have an official policy. Thanks, Jason. That's great work on that one. All right, and the next item is closure of an undeveloped Idema Explorers Trail easement over by Riverside Park. For those of you, I know that there was some good information in the packet. So we have a proposed motion to close the undeveloped easement crossing private property until the trail is constructed. So we have a suggested motion if someone would like to make that.
So moved.
All right, thank you, Lucas. Do we have support?
Support.
Okay, thanks, Linda. All right. Jason, would you like to do just a little brief
please.
synopsis of this?
Sure. There is this easement for a multi-purpose trail, Idema Explorers Trail. We hope that the trail construction could actually start as early as this year, but probably wouldn't be finished till next year. It all depends. We're waiting for a grant agreement. So the gentleman in particular has had some challenges with trespassing. This property in particular used to be owned by the Ottawa County Road Commission. So the Parks Commission has the ability to close a piece of property. So closing this will then allow us to retain all of our property rights and construct the trail in the future, but will clearly then exclude the public from being on that area where the easement is until such a time the trail is constructed. So, yep.
Hey, Kelly, can I say a couple? I don't know. if
Yeah,
it
for
makes
sure.
a lot difference, but I know many of us are disappointed in this whole way this came about, and may be unhappy with what the new property owner is going to do or has done there. But I would say I've met with him several times. He's always been extremely cordial, willing to work with us. I can't say he's dealing with issues which, yeah, he shouldn't have to deal with. He's within his rights to do what he's doing there. And so I just wanted to say that he's gotten into a little bit of a row with Doug, Vanessa, a little bit on technical points, but in terms of just dealing with him, he's been excellent. So I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, thanks, Kurt. That's good to know.
Can I ask what kind of things, or were just people trespassing or camping there, or what was happening?
I think trespassing, and to the property owner's extent, he's almost felt like it's gone to the extent of harassment.
Yeah. Sure.
And so as Kurt said, he's, worked with us, has provided some opportunities to make sure grading he was having done on site worked with our plans in the future. He's been a good neighbor, and, unintentionally, this easement has been perceived to allow this issue. So this is a mechanism that we can then close it until we're ready to build and open the trail.
Sure.
And he will still have to manage if there are trespassers on his property. We'll make sure that we continue to try to work with them. We'll post some additional signage on site to clearly indicate that where the property boundary is, and that public access is not allowed beyond that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So this gives him a lot more leeway to call the sheriff's department and say, come get them off my property.
Correct.
The property line is on our property. It has been remark. The markings were lost, but we have new markers like we do for all our properties along that line. So it's easy to see where it is now, but this would add some signage to that, I think.
And then his property, then on the other side is the DNR Bass River Recreational Area. So we've been in communication with their management folks. And so, yeah. And once this is done, we'll relay that on to sheriff and law enforcement. So they'll understand, right? The public shouldn't be on that property.
Any other questions? All right, we'll go ahead and put it to a vote then. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. All right, motion carries. And one more, we have approval of a special permit for this Saturday's Lakeshore Visual Arts Collective. The suggested motion is on here. This was discussed by executive committee, but since we did talk about this, it's just a need to issue a special permit for this Saturday's event at the Nature Education Center or Hemlock Crossing. So, well, I guess, would anyone feel comfortable making that motion to open it up? All right, thanks, Linda. Support, does anyone support it? All right, good job, Martin.
Could somebody tell me why we're doing it?
Sure,
today?
that's, yeah.
Well, so, and that's what, I had some good questions come up about the event this upcoming weekend. And so it's been a long-standing event. Previously, as we looked at the interpretation of our rules, staff are authorized to issue special permits. However, when I really dug into it, and there were the one question really that it was in regards to was the cash bar. So a cash bar is restricted. So in our facility rental rules agreement, that then anybody who utilizes one of our facilities, a cash bar is expressly prohibited. And it sounds silly, but there isn't clearly defined where staff have the leeway to approve that exception. So, as we kind of talked internally, nobody actually understood why there was a restriction on the cash bar. And we've authorized this event, staff have in previous years. But because of that, it's a bit of a technicality, but I thought it would be, belt and suspenders, right? Dot the i's and cross the t's. And then I think as we talk with Nick and he looks at our facility usage and that business plan and how we kind of incorporate all of this, we'll review those rules and procedures and probably, right?
Is it really a cash bar? I use a ticket when I go. I mean,
Well, but it's the same thing, right? So
it comes as part of my donation to the cause. I get 2 tickets to go over there and get a drink. I can get a canned
Right.
ale of some sort, or I can get a Coke.
Well, but you can also, I think, then buy.
So that's more of a restriction related to the bartender. And so the bartender you're hired decides if they want to collect cash.
I get we had somebody ask a question.
So it's just,
Because it wasn't crystal clear that staff had that authority, we recommended them bring it to the full Parks Commission just to make sure that.
yeah, and then,
Are we going to have to review every one of these every month then?
no.
So
The exception this time is really that cash bar. And then we'll address that and review it with the Parks Commission, take it to our Finance Committee and have that discussion about any revisions to the rules and usage agreements. But it was really, I couldn't, and talked about it with Jason, I couldn't see where it was expressly delegated to staff on that one. So, yeah.
Yeah, we do. I'm going to do work with staff to do a business plan for our rental facilities. And one of the things is just looking at all the rules and seeing what works, what doesn't, what can we simplify to make it a little bit clearer. So we don't have these gray areas from time to time. So.
Yeah, it'll be nice to have a fresh set of eyes on them too, just because you get used to seeing the same thing over.
Yeah,
and
and
over,
as it
so.
stands right now, a lot of it, it works very well and it makes a lot of sense. So it's just that periodic review, right?
Any other questions? Comments? All right, we'll go ahead and put it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. All right, motion carries. Okay, this brings us to our final public comment. We have two gentlemen. Thank you for being so patient. It happens at the end of the meeting here, but we have two Bobs. So do we care who goes? Is there someone who'd like to go first or?
We're actually together.
Oh, okay. All right, great. If you wouldn't mind coming to the podium and giving us your name and your address, and you'll have 3 minutes for a presentation.
Thank you.
Or information sharing.
I'm Bob DeBryan. Taught school in Grand Haven for a long time, but live in Grand Rapids.
Okay.
Bob Whipke. I live in Spring Lake Township. So also taught for 37 years and mostly in Grand Haven. We're both environmental science teachers. And let me say, I love the Ottawa County parks. I work part-time as a naturalist at Hoffmaster,
Okay,
and happy Earth Week to you all.
yes.
We're seeking permission to advertise within the park system a trip to see the monarch butterflies in Mexico. Maybe you all saw the 60 Minutes report this
Did
past
anybody see
Sunday.
that?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Also won by Tom Hanks a few weeks back. It is spectacular down there, and we would like to lead a trip. And the type of people that would go on a trip like this are those who have an appreciation for nature, people who spend time in parks and whatnot. We're not asking for your, it's not offered through you folks, but we'd like to.
Holbrook Travels. I'm taking a nature class at Hemlock Crossing right now. And last Saturday's meeting was on migration. And the teacher is wonderful. Oh my goodness, so knowledgeable. But of course, they had the table breakdowns, the stat and everything else. And people were saying, well, what kind of migration? Snowbirds and geese. And then my tables, I said, butterflies.
Yeah.
And we talked about the butterflies and the possibility that this is with Holbrook Travels, and they're a national group. I've done Holbrook many times. I went to Costa Rica 4 times with students, and we work with the sea turtles and the eggs, and we taking kids to the West Coast science trip. This isn't kids, this is adults, because the butterflies happen in January, February
mostly.
mostly. Continue, Bob.
So we were asking Jessica how best to proceed with this, and she said we needed to talk to you folks. So that's
Okay.
And
Wonderful.
Holbrook is such a great group. We went this past February, and if you watch the 60 Minutes, we were sitting in the exact same spot.
Oh, nice.
Not just a few butterflies, but millions of
Millions. It was
butterflies.
just
Wow.
spectacular.
It's one of the greatest sights I've ever seen in my life. Really was.
And we're hoping to put up some posters in the parks around, because the folks that go to parks are typically the people that would enjoy a wonderful trip like this.
Excellent. Great. Well, yeah, I appreciate the brainstorming. I think opening up opportunities is wonderful.
So you want to go with this?
So you'd be looking at next year, so 2026 then?
January, February of 26.
Okay,
Correct.
okay.
And please look at the 60 Minutes for the people who haven't seen it, because it's just phenomenal.
How many people do you hope to?
Between 10 and 20. Yeah, minimum would be 10, maximum would be 20.
And if we get a bigger result, maybe a couple more trips, who knows?
So, all right. Question? Pardon me? Oh, did you have a question?
I was just thinking that would be something that,
Yeah, I
I
think
would-
at the committee level or,
Well,
for
I would
staff
say
to
if we,
talk about.
if you give us a month, staff a month, we can work with the Bobs and see if we have a recommendation for the Parks Commission to consider.
Okay, great. Yeah, I guess if you've reached out to and coordinated with Jess or provided all the information, you can then and just give us a little bit of time and, yeah. sounds like a wonderful experience you all got to partake in.
It
So,
was great. We have the itinerary of the trip that we took this past year. If you're interested in seeing that, to see what kind of things are
Just
done.
2 pages. And they sent us a lot more than that, but I just copied 2 pages for you.
yeah, great. Okay, wonderful. Any other questions right now for these gentlemen? But, all right. Well, thank you for sharing. We
Thank you.
appreciate your
Thank you.
attendance. I'm sure someone will be circling back with you soon.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for your patience. Wait until the end.
And here they are, guys.
Oh, great. That's
Oh, great.
super. Thank you.
And Holbrook is nationally known and wonderful, so.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does that sound good?
All right. I don't see anyone else in the audience, and just in case there's someone online, go ahead and note the email address. You can submit your public comment to in writing to the Parks Commission at any point during the month, and we will discuss it next meeting. All right. Now I got butterfly on the brain. All right. We'll move on to Commissioner's Prerogative, and we'll start down there with Bruce.
I don't know if I have anything to note right now.
Okay, no worries. It's purely- Okay, not Paul, Lucas?
I'm really excited about the North Bank Trail. In June, it's Riverworks is going to begin the construction of the crossings over the old railroad trestles. I did shoot Jessica an update on that. There's a really cool picture of the, I don't know if you can bring it up on the screen or not. No big deal if you can't, but they're constructing the beams that are going to be placed across the trestles. So it's actually happening. So this will be a great 1 mile extension of the trail that's on its way. And then the
Sorry, URL or website.
what's that?
What's the website I should pull up?
Oh, it's not on a website. I emailed a PDF to you. Sorry.
Where does it end, Lucas?
What's that?
Does it end at a street?
So this particular section is going to end just as on the other side of Crockery Creek. So at that point, the question is, where does it go from there? It's probably going to jump up to the Consumers Energy easement there, or Consumers Energy property, and run along there. But that's not solid at this point. But what I'm hoping is that it'll just be sort of a goat trail that runs down to 96th Ave for now. Yep. But that, as everyone knows, that connects to the Spoonville Trail and over the Grand River to the Explorers Trail. So, and Kate Terpstra, who's in Coopersville, and his staff in Coopersville is working hard in Polkton and Coopersville and Wright Township. And then there's also there was talk about Earth Day celebrations, but there's one at the Temple Lounge. I think it's the Lakeshore event. That's the old 7 Steps Up in the village of Spring Lake from 1 to 4 on Saturday. So.
Nice.
so, hey,
Perfect.
yeah.
All right, thanks, Lucas. Linda?
I do want to say something under the commissioner's prerogative about the bylaws. I have been incredibly disappointed the last 2 years when we were unable to have the entirety of the board for a commission for a variety of understandable reasons, I think, not be able to endorse a colleague that they had worked with for at least a year. So what I hope is that in the future, that if you feel strongly about somebody in the positive way, I don't know that we need to send terrible endorsements. If you have that issue with somebody, I'd hope you'd have that conversation with them or with Jason or with the president of the board, that you would feel comfortable sending talent, whatever.
Appointment and alignment.
Appointment and alignment. A note that says this person has done good work, or that you at least had the courage to do that, because I felt like the last 2 years we didn't always. We weren't always comfortable operating in courage. Some people were and some people weren't. And I understand why. But I think that's kind of sad because this was always a place that was about what was best for the parks and best for the county. Those are my 2 cents.
Okay, thanks, Linda. Martin?
I just had two notes of appreciation I wanted to share. My brother-in-law got married at the Weaver House on Saturday, and it was
Ah.
wonderful. So
Hey.
thanks to everybody for making that site as great as it is. And then yesterday, I had the opportunity to work with Carly pulling garlic mustard at Olive Shores. Was just organized a group from my place of work to go and volunteer for Earth Day, and it was also wonderful. We had great weather. The garlic mustard just flies out of the ground this time of year. Hasn't really had a chance to do much.
Well, if you're with us on a Friday, we can burn sometimes. The Catalinas we can burn. We get 10 we get big torches.
Soon. Great.
I just wanted to share the appreciation. It's been great.
Thanks for volunteering. That's great. Yeah. Phil?
I'm good.
Joe?
Do I have anything tonight?
Okay. I just had a super quick item. Well, I know we've talked about programming a lot, but there are so many awesome programs that Parks is offering in the spring, and everything's moving around and all the critters and stuff. So I would just like to, promote that again. Just maybe even everybody try to pick one and go to it if you haven't. So, and if you are looking for one, I am running a session on May 7th on native landscaping. And it's kind of a kickoff, and I just shout out to, Neely and Tyler have given some really good brainstorming about how to get more of a native landscape, movement going with park support. So there's kind of year-long ideas kicking around there. Paul and the groundwater group has already kicked it off and, really trying to promote it. So I think we're going to really try to get some synergy going, and anyone's welcome if you doing it already. If you want to learn how to do it, I think I'm going to try to tackle some of the hurdles as to why everyone doesn't do it during my presentation. So it's free. So, May 7th at night after our strategic, if you want to sit in another meeting, but there is a big Q&A at the end. So that's going to be some, so if you're doing it, want to share some stories.
So you have to get done in time for us to get there.
Yeah, so I won't be staying late, but
We did talk about that at groundwater a little bit, and they were going to try to put a price with what we're saving through not irrigating it. So that.
at the county building. Yeah.
So if we
Yeah, the
could,
cost savings is
We
great.
could do that. There's a lot of county buildings we'd like to, if it's really a cost saving, let's do it. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think it'd be great. So good stuff.
Thank you for bringing that up, Kelly. That was on my list too, and I was talking.
Oh, no, that's okay. Yeah, and I shouldn't say I'm leading the presentation, but Neely and Tyler are jumping in with some different sections at the end too. So it'll be a good.
Where's that going to be at?
Hemlock Crossing. So yep, indoor. So yep. All right. I think that is all we have on our agenda today because we do not have closed session, correct? Nothing to discuss. All right. So we will just go ahead. Our next meeting is May 21st. And so we'll just take a motion to adjourn. If someone would like to make that.
Make that motion.
All right. Thanks, Joe. Do we have
Support.
Sorry, who supported? Bill? All right. Thanks, Bill. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Meeting is adjourned.
And then Lucas and Kelly, we have some stuff, or we have stuff for you guys to sign.
Oh, yeah. Great. Okay.
What is that 6 then to be able to get from Fillmore to
What time is
on that May 7th?
You know?
So that's